Hello, everybody. Matt Delisle here again today with Lauren for this webinar about setting up a hoof trimming list on your mobile app. Just a few things before we get started. You can ask questions anytime during the webinar. Just make sure that you click on the little microphone button at the top of your console. You can also ask questions through the chat. So that's at the bottom. And if you're not a client, don't hesitate to look at the handouts sections. I've put a brochure about the Uniform software in there, so you can download it and view it later. Finally, the video of that webinar will be recorded and will be made available on our website next Monday. So don't panic if you can't find it on our website. You will receive a link by email next Monday with the link to the webinar. So I'll leave the floor to Lauren.
Hi, everyone. As Matt said, we're going to go through the hoof trimming on the app. But the first things first is we need to start out on the desktop. So I'll walk you through how to create the hoof trim events and schedules, how to apply them to cows, and then how to bring that into your app and actually use that in a daily management setting. So first off here, we are going to go to the data entry screen and the settings button in the upper right-hand corner. This is going to let us set a default hoof trimming treatment. I have mine set here already. If you had a specific different item that you wanted to have, you could change this here. So I've got mine set hoof trim. And if you had a default hoof trim recheck treatment, if you maybe wanted to set this to hoof wrap or something like that, where a cow would need to be brought back to the list, you can change these as well. I'm going to leave mine set to hoof trim because of some of the other settings that I'll have set up later on. I'll say OK here. All right. And then we are going to go to everybody's favorite part of the program, Action Scheduler. Action Scheduler is under Herd Data in your management menu. And you may be familiar with this from several other vaccination programs or sync programs. But today we're going to look at the Action Scheduler button, number 4. So here I have some hoof trim protocols built, and I'm going to walk through a couple of them with you. The first one that we're going to take a look at here is a days in milk trim. So I have a hoof trim for 100 days in milk set. When you're building this for the first time, you'll have the option to select farm level or animal level. It's important when you're looking at a cow level event to select the animal level button. The farm level button would be something for maybe cleaning calf hutches or something along those lines. Here I've got this set to a cow calendar. And then with these checkboxes under status, I can choose which cows I want to include or disregard for my report. So I am not going to trim my do not breed cows or my dry cows with this specific item. There are some additional options here under the advanced setting. I've removed the checkbox for young stock on this plan. You could also set some more advanced filters here. The one that I like to include when I'm removing the do not breed cows from my list is this cancel plan. So if she gets changed to a do not breed cow, she'll be removed from this protocol. I'm going to trigger this event based on last calving in 100 days. So this will be 100 days in milk. We could trigger these by different events as well. And I'll show you a expected dry off plan here too. For the hoof trims, I like to select the third option underneath the presentation days. I do this because I want to confirm that this cow has had her hoof trim. So I'll leave her presenting on my list for 60 days or until the hoof trim is recorded in the program. And the registration period at the bottom refers to the amount of days where she has had a previous hoof trim. So this is saying in 60 days prior to her scheduled date, so today, let's say, if she's had a hoof trim, then we will not schedule her again for that 100 days in milk trim. So that's really important as you start building these plans. This just confirms that 100 days in milk and 60 days is the registration period. The next one here is expected dry off, and this is quite common with most of the users that I'm working with here. So I'll run through this. It's very similar, but instead of choosing everybody, we're only going to choose the pregnant or dry cows. And then that trigger, we're going to look at expected dry off, and I'm going to look 14 days ahead of that expected dry off. So I left our dry cows included in the animal status here, just in case we're a little bit late getting these entered. So those dry cows will show up, but we're targeting those pregnant late lactation cows with this trim. And we're going to give them that default treatment of hoof trim, just like we did in the lactating cows. You can change your registration period and presentation days for how it fits your management style, but this would be a pretty common setup here. And the next one that would be pretty common to use would be a hoof trim based on a health event. So we'll take a look at this one here. I have this built just pretty generic. This is a lameness plan. So I'm going to trigger this event on a health event. It can be cow of any status. And I'm going to just give that health event of lame. Now we could do several different items here. We could do a leg injury. We could do a sole ulcer. So we could really customize this. If you wanted to have 100 different hoof trim plans, we can make as many as you need. So for this one, I'm going to use lame. And I want this scheduled immediately. So I'm setting this to day 0, which would be today. This one I'm also leaving on a presentation day of 21 days, and I want to make sure that I get that hoof trim recorded here. I have 0 days on the registration period set for this one, because if she's lame today and I trimmed her 30 days ago, I still want to see her on my list. Okay, so now we will jump over to the herdsman action list, and I'll show you this way. We'll go into the task button. I like to see my hoof trims on the task button itself. So under properties on the bottom right, I'm going to make sure that my dashboard is selected in my drop-down menu here. And then I'll jump over to action scheduler. We'll go to animal level. And you can see I've got the checkbox enabled for all of my hoof trim plans. Now where the app comes in is through another drop-down item, the UTouch app. Just like on the dashboard, you've got the settings related to the days ahead and which feed groups, cows or heifers. But under action scheduler is where you really need to pay attention for the hoof trimming. So we see the selected boxes are all checked, but I've also got an additional box that did not show up on our dashboard list for hoof trimming. And this is really what connects the hoof trimming item to the hoof trimming icon on your app that I'll show you in just a minute. So we'll save that change with the blue save button when we're finished there. All right, next up, we will jump over to the app. And TeamViewer is being a little picky on me here, Matt.
Is it?
Yeah, just 1 second. We'll get myself connected again.
So Lauren's
Are there any
connecting.
questions so far about how to build the schedules or what kind of schedules can be set up with the app?
I don't see any written questions here, but
Okay.
like I said earlier, don't hesitate to ask a questions by unmuting your microphone. Looks like you're getting there, Lauren.
Yeah, we're getting there. Here we go. All right, sorry about that, guys.
There you go.
Here we go. So here's my app. I'm going to synchronize real quick just to grab all those changes that we just did using the double arrow button, and I'll receive new data with the button, the gray button at the bottom. There we go. So if you don't know where the hoof trimming app is, or icon is for the app, it may be because you haven't set it up yet. So we'll go to the three dots in the upper right-hand corner and click Settings. About a third of the way down, you've got Home. So we'll click the arrow to the right there. And here are the icons that you have on your main tab. I'm going to go ahead and remove semen inventory and switch it out for hoof trimming. But you could also hit the arrow in the upper right-hand corner and add a second page and grab any of those items that you may want to add there too. And then we'll hit the check marks to save. So now you see on the right-hand side, I have my hoof trimming icon. I'll open that up, and this matches my dashboard hoof trim list. So here you can see I've got my bred heifer hoof trim, my 100 days in milk hoof trim cows, and my dry off cows. And down at the bottom, you see I've got 421 there scheduled for a lameness trim. If we wanted to go ahead and action one of these, we could click on a cow and say, here's her hoof trim, say she's all good. We could enter a comment if we wanted to, and then check mark, and that'll save her. We can also go to 421, our lameness cow, and say what exactly is the treatment here that we're doing. Let's say we're going to do a hairy wart treatment on this cow. We can choose the treatment location, say left rear. And then if we click that little medicine bag, that brings open the actual treatment events here. And we've got the hairy wart treatment plan built into the program on the desktop already, so that pre-populates based on that health event. We can also add additional items if we wanted to do that, including cost or comments. And then we can save.
So I think the
That
message
little
we just
warning.
saw there, sorry, I think the
Yeah.
message we just saw there was about synchronizing. I think we need to synchronize before we can see the actual end result.
Yeah. Yep. So we can go back to our dashboard here and synchronize. And we'll go to the dashboard, send and receive on our app. And we should be able to see some changes here. Oh, I've already recorded the medicine for that cow.
Oh, she was treated already.
Yeah. Okay. So now, I don't know if you noticed, I should have pointed it out there before, but our task button was at 8 prior to that sync. Now that we've treated that cow, we've got that task button down to 7, and 421 is now no longer on our list here.
Perfect.
All right, let's see. Let's see, does that cover what you wanted to see from the app there, Matt?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Any questions so far? I see some new people connected. and even connecting at that point.
Okay.
So
So
again,
maybe
for
we
those who
could
just,
take a look. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, again, for those who just joined, this webinar will be available next Monday on our website. So even if you missed the first 15 minutes, you'll be able to see it all again Monday. Sorry,
Perfect.
go ahead.
So we can take a look how I actually linked that treatment to a health event. Underneath your health events list, which you can search or you can find underneath her data, I've got mine sorted here so that all my foot and leg injuries are kind of together. And if I wanted to do that hairy wart, I can double click on that and create a standard treatment of a hoof trim. So that's going to show up on those different lists. And we could do that with any of these. Same thing with the lameness. You could link a standard treatment there as well. And in your treatment lists, let's see, we could do something along the lines of like the hoof trim for the lameness cow or a strawberry wart. We could set up a treatment plan with a remove and add a hoof wrap. So we could take a look at my treatment plans here. And I'll show you what I built for that cow. So if you have questions as you start working on getting your hoof trim set up in your desktop and on your app, we're more than happy to help walk through some of these things because there are a lot of options. And I like to say, if you're working with it and you're getting frustrated because you can't figure something out, it's probably possible, and the help desk is just a phone call away. So we're always happy to help with those kinds of things.
So these, Lauren, these two first items there on their like day zeros, I've got hoof trim and hoof wrap. Those were the two treatments showing up on the app, I believe. So
Yes.
that means the subsequent days will show up in a different list, I guess on my task list on the mobile app, correct? In the
Yes,
following
that's
days.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And that's all dependent on how you want to see information in your app. If you want several days ahead in the properties on your action list from the app, you can choose your specific days ahead settings. I like to look at mine with a pretty limited amount of data, just because their most important things that you're entering on the app are the things that are happening today.
So you would see items 7 days in advance in that
Yep.
scenario here. Okay, makes
Yep.
sense.
And then if you change it down to 1, that would be today and tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Okay. Are there other things that we could talk about? Or if you have questions, we can go into way more. It's kind of a quick overview, but hoof trimming is something that you're all doing and something that's very easy to set up in the program. So we can go as deep or as shallow as we need to.
I still don't have any written questions here, so yeah, I think it's crystal clear. And again, you know, the formula we're using for the webinars is, of course, we don't want to take 2 hours or 3 hours of your time for a webinar. We know that you know, time is limited sometimes, and so that's why we're doing that 30 minutes maximum formula. And of course, you know, if we're going too quick during these webinars, you know, feel free to watch them afterwards and go at your own pace. It's meant for that. So I think, no, I don't have any questions, Lauren. So I think we can call it a day.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
And have a good one.